John Fitzpatrick, you're very welcome to Talking Sport with Stan. Thanks a million, John, for taking the time out.
Thanks, Sean. No problem at all. Delighted to help get involved.
Really appreciate it. Ex-Drumlish, famous for your Drumlish football in years, John, and your role in athletics, and your position at the minute, I believe, is secretary of the Longford Athletics Club. Is that right?
Well, I'm actually vice-chairman
Very
since the
good.
start of the year, and I suppose I've been sort of the lead on the facilities task force, looking to identify a building or a facility that we can
That's
have
right. You had a
for.
massive fundraiser there recently.
Correct, yeah, Sean. We went through about 9 months of hard work, but very worthwhile, and very thankful for everybody's support throughout Longford and throughout other counties. There's been an unbelievable support from everybody, in this space. So we're really, really grateful. So we're in line now. We're still working behind the scenes, even during this COVID-19. We're waiting for planning application to be confirmed. I suppose it's been lodged, and we're just waiting for a decision now in the next 3-4 weeks. And I suppose we've been awarded a €500,000 leader funding through LCRL, which is an amazing amount of money. I suppose the facility is going to be, a huge facility, I believe, not just for athletics, but for all types of sports, in Longford, and for everybody in there, between GA and soccer clubs and schools and, you name it, and the athletic club, obviously. But
it's going to be, please God, it's going to be a huge resource. It's so needed.
Yeah.
It is so needed. Yeah, and I apologise. I thought you were secretaries, but I didn't realise you were vice chair from the start of the year. So congrats on that.
Yeah.
Was that a welcome position? Sometimes these positions you can fall into them.
I sort of was there. I know, to be honest,
I know.
I was there to help, and I suppose I sort of nominated myself to help about maybe 18 months ago, or maybe a little longer, to try and build something for the athletic club in Longford. The club has been about since, I think, 1969, I think it was. So it's over 50 years old. So I thought, what, the club needs to have a facility. Without it, athletes have gone through the club without any facilities. And I think it's just time that we try and build something here for the club. So I sort of landed myself in it, but I didn't really mind, to be honest. I
know. When you have a passion for it, and look, there's great people like yourself involved, the only way is up. And I did meet you. I met you one of the days there when you were out selling tickets for fundraisers. So that's tough work. It is tough work. Because
I think,
there's many others doing the same for different causes as well. And it's
it is tough. And to be honest, you'd admire. There's so many different fundraisers happening. Obviously that do it for Dan there recently. People are so generous in these current climate and times. So and it is difficult, but we really appreciative of everybody's support, like including yourself, John. Thanks.
Not at all. When you're resigned to the couch on a Friday night watching the late, it's one thing I noticed the last couple of weeks was the amount of money people are donating towards different causes each week, and it's unbelievable.
It's amazing. It is amazing.
Great, John. We move on. Look at your accolades here, which is just more than impressive. So I'm just going to read through them quickly, and then a few little questions for you on them. So we start with the GAA. 2 senior championships, 4 senior Division 1, Sigerson semi-finals at DIT, under 21 championship on Man of the Match, Leinster Club Championship semi-finalists, 99 losing to Éire Óg. I actually remember that game well. I actually spoke to Jimmy Masson about it, I think. Or well, no, maybe it was a different year. He played. No, it was a Kildare champion. Sorry, he played in Pearse Park one year.
Yes.
Played intercounty for Longford in 21 and senior in 98-99. Lost to Drumar and Clongishon county finals in 04 and 05. Basketball. St. Mel's College and Torpedoes, numerous provincial championships and trial for the Leinster under 16 basketball team at St. Vincent's, Dublin in 93. Athletics, 2 community games national gold medals and 4th-place certificate, under 14 shot put, under 16 high jump, 4th in discus. High jump intermediate schools championship in Tullamore 94, shot put, triple jump, pole vault, and national medalist. Discus national medalist, yes. Decathlon and multi-events national underage champion a few times. You represented Ireland abroad, but 12 times underage and won a number of international medals. You were third in the high jump at Colwyn Bay, Wales, where you captained the Irish team in '95. You came second and third in the high jump and shot put at the European FISEC, is it? Games in Hungary the same year.
Yep.
Like, just reading through that, John, it's, apart from it being, it's overwhelming. Like, the first thing that jumps out at me is the variety in your youth, the variety of your involvement in different sports. You weren't confined from day one. So from the outset, I'm thinking of a future GA manager online. From the outset, you were always going to be a hard enough fella to nail down.
Yeah, I think
like, because you had so many interests, but it's so positive. Like, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, I think basically, Sean, I suppose, my dad was principal of Drumlish National School, and I suppose all the guys down Drumlish, I suppose they will look back on Dad, and I suppose Dad was sort of an all-round sort of sports person. He never really focused on one sport. It could have been soccer one day, Gaelic the next day, American football the following day. It was a bit of athletics the next day. There was always, but it was always encouraging people to get out and play a bit of sport or keep fit. Even the old healthy mind type. That was loved that philosophy. It was all about keeping active. And I suppose from my own perspective, I suppose he always encouraged you to just get out and do something, and don't tie yourself into any one sport. Just try and succeed and be determined to go at whatever. But there's lots of different options. This doesn't have to be just one sport. But I suppose that probably, I suppose Dad probably would have been a big influence back in my day, obviously, in the school, and I suppose he helped probably on the athletic piece. He was always he always used to consider, if you're athletically capable, then if you're coming up against guys that aren't doing what you can do athletically, even in sport or Gaelic or whatever, if you're fitter than those guys, then there's a higher probability you're going to cover more territory. You're going to be able to get your hands on the ball more often. You'll take them on, and so I suppose he always instilled the importance of athletic mobility, that type of crack. But
sounds like he had a great mindset.
Yeah, that was, he probably was ahead of his time. I remember even thinking back, I was talking to David Hanafy there a few times. Dave and myself were good mates all throughout national school, sat together and copied each other, and the usual crack.
Who copied who?
Well, we won't go there. But I think I was handy at the maths. David was handy at the languages.
You complimented each other, so
we sort of compliment each other, I suppose. But look at it. It was like he just probably was a bit ahead, with even training. He were doing some fartlek training at the time was a big thing, where he had, running and whistles after 30 seconds, slow down and go again. And we were reminiscent of the run around your bare feet and in the cold and the muck and the dirt, and coming back in and washing your feet and in buckets of lukewarm water with boiling kettles and all sorts of crap. But anyway, we won't even go there. But they're great memories. But I suppose the athletic piece, he was always it was always an importance to be fit and be able, and then no matter what sport you went at,
you could adapt.
Better capability. So
it just strikes me. It's so unique. Like, your accolades are so unique. Like, when I got in touch with you, and I asked you for your accolades, there must have been. Did it strike you when you were piecing it together? Like, did you have little moments where you're like, God, I'm chuffed with that now? That was.
No, I'll be honest with you. There, about 3 weeks ago, the PRO of the athletic club, Barry Shields, he sent me a WhatsApp asking me could he stick some stuff up about me on WhatsApp or on Facebook, on the club Facebook page, and could I send him a few highlights? And to be honest, I think he had some information already himself, but so I just. It's funny you rang me whatever last week, Sean. I was like going, well, actually, I've actually pulled a few of the athletic pieces together, but I suppose the GA stuff, and to be honest, I think I might have said to you, I'm not 100% sure about some of those dates, but I know it's not too far off with the dates. But I think, when I look back, I suppose I know I sort of was a multi-eventer, not just in athletics, but in all sorts. And I loved playing any game, any athletic sport, whatever it was, sort of, even hurling, whatever it was, just have a go at it, and I enjoyed it. But I look back fully and I say, yeah, there were great times, particularly when I was younger. Really enjoyed the traveling abroad and meeting people. And some of those people are still competing, at national, international level. Like there's a guy called Sean Brannock from Galway, from Connemara. I would have went abroad with Sean, and I think he's won 9 shot put senior All-Irelands now at this stage, and he's represented Ireland, European, throws, and loads of different guys. And then actually, I think back even to some of the athletes I was competing against. Like I competed against like medalists at Olympics, like Dean Macy. Dean Macy was a decathlete for the UK, and I think he may have won the Olympics, or he came runner up in the Olympics in the decathlon one year. And the likes of Dwayne Chambers, he was running as well in a race that I was in as well. So I look back and I go, geez, these guys, so yeah, I suppose I was a multitude of different types of events and different types of sports. I enjoyed them all, but yeah, it's good. It's good looking back.
What an experience, and like the array of events you participated in and were successful in, and each are so unique. When you talk about technique and ability, and I suppose that's why athletics is so diverse. But you must have been you must have had a bit of everything, to be so successful in each of them.
Yeah, I think you need to have sort of an aptitude. I suppose you have to, you have to have a bit of talent, but you have to be sort of coached to do the right stuff the right way. And then I suppose ideally you need to have facilities and, to basically succeed and, to be optimal at how you perform. But I think when I look back, I was able to get away without some of those bits. I suppose when I look at athletics in Longford, we never really had a facility for some of these technical events. So I think we might have had a quick chat there. I think I used to do a bit of hurdling and high jumping at home, where I think I made up a high jump pad. This is actually a funny story, but I actually went to Stokes's car garage and the scrapyard, and I basically gathered about 10 back seats of cars, pulled them out of the back seats of cars, and we wrapped them up in a type of a mesh with sort of a material to hold them together. and that was my high jump pad. And then that made up two uprights, and I had a bar from crossbar for even though it was steel at one point. I think it was Enda had something, or somebody had something, and it worked. But I suppose so it was very.
The nerves weren't good around your house.
Oh yeah.
God help anyone looking out the back window at you. Do a little watch.
It was like MacGyver, hey, like the A-Team. Yeah,
I have a childhood memory of actually. I was when I rang you last week at Ash, come on, I was telling you about the hurdles you had set up at the side of the house, and that's still so distinctive in my mind.
Yes.
I was younger. I must have been going over with with Shane maybe at the time. Dara probably would have been a tad bit young, but
Dara,
and I don't know what age you would have been there, but like that's the setup. Those it was eventful.
It was eventful. It was great fun. I look back fondly on the memories, and didn't injure myself too badly anyway. But I suppose it's another reason why I actually got involved with the athletic club, because I sort of look back and I see the crop of athletes, the talent that Longford currently has, and they have no facility, and they're going outside of Longford to train and to use other clubs and other counties' facilities. So I suppose I had a bit of bee in my bonnet going, look, at this county needs to have something like this. And I suppose we're one of only 4 counties, I think, that hasn't got an athletic facility in the country. So
where would they normally go, John? Athlone, is it?
Athlone, yeah. And we're blessed to have Athlone so close.
Yeah.
Like Athlone has been unbelievable for the Midlands, and fair play to Mary O'Rourke and all the different guys that are involved down there. They've done an unbelievable job in that facility. And I suppose having something closer to home, being able to just go out, within 5 minutes from home, be able to just do your training session, inside. We're hoping to build is in indoor area, so it can be used all year round, no matter what the weather conditions are. So as you see a lot of tracks, they're probably only used 10 or 15% of the time, where these indoor areas are now sort of the first phase, you say, of a development of an athletic facility. So I think that's really the reason why I got involved, really, was say, looking probably back at my own time, seeing how I worked. So they came up against really good athletes when you went abroad. You come up against athletes that had their own facilities.
Yeah, they had that background, yeah.
And it was very difficult to compete. You were sort of you weren't comparing with apples to apples. You had to be unbelievably talented to try and, beat these guys, so, yeah.
Well, these are the things that make the difference at the end of the day, because like that was the difference for you. That was probably the fine line between that step to the next level. And it's also a fine line for that child or young kid who wants to pursue a career in athletics, that even that travel, that commitment to travel over to Athlone can be a factor in deciding, well, you know what, just can't do this.
And to be honest, Sean, like I suppose Paddy McPhillips was the chairman of the club. Paddy's really good, was a really good chairperson, and so everybody knows about his son Kean now. He's an unbelievable talent. But I know, we've got some really good kids like Nelvin Apaya, Longford born, he's African origin. Yeah, correct. There you go. And then you've got Yemi Talibi and her sister, Fumi, unreal talents as well, national champions. Like that girl, Yemi, has jumped 6 meters in the long jump when she was 16. So like, another 2 foot, and she's probably Olympic standard, and doesn't have a facility. So I'm like, Nelvin is jumping 2 meters and 10 without a high jump. It's like, I think at her launch night for our facilities, we were there, and I just said to the guys, and was, great attendance, and politicians and everybody were there. So it's like playing football, but you don't have a football when you go home to train.
Yeah, I get you. It's so important. You have to build the base first before. Like, there's no point having such talent, like you're talking about there, having that talent, and not aiding it. Not giving them the essentials, and the essential is a facility.
Yeah, it is.
Where they can practice what they're good at.
Sean, I spoke to Ray Flynn. Like, Ray's been instrumental as well behind the scenes and helping us, acquire a facility like this. And so between Enda, my brother Enda, and Ray, they've been really good athletes, and international standard. He's a CEO of Flynn Sports Management over in the States, and he's director of the Millrose Games in New York. He's an unbelievable man. But he actually wrote a lovely sort of a letter to us, just to try and help, promote what we're trying to do. And I just explained about, for himself, he was blessed to be recruited to the US, and, aspiring athletes, they need a place to train, to be coached. And success, it can happen accidentally. And I'm reading it from his letter, but it has a greater proven chance with good direction and coaching and a place to train and to be mentored. And I suppose that's it summed up. There's talent, coach, facilities. They're the 3 keys to success in sport, and obviously you have to have a drive and a will to succeed. And then there's other aspects in high performance and building resilience and, the psychology of it all. But those 3 blocks, there is, that's it.
Yes, and you can't do without anyone, because you're only going to get so far. Like anyone who has, great success or gets to the top, they have everything in place.
Yeah. That's the way it is. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, great, John, and fair play to him for stating that, for Ray, for putting it like that. Very easy to gloss over and say, look, I got the opportunity, but to bring, he's aware of what's important.
Well, he's the national 1,500 metre and mile record holder in Ireland. that he's ran 2 Olympic Games. You know, he's a serious athletic sports person, and he's been really heavily involved behind the scenes, helping us basically build and hopefully build a facility for Longford, which we're confident with. It will happen eventually.
Yeah, no, I'm blown away by all that, John. It's so interesting, and you know, it just needs to be got out there. You know, the awareness, like there's such an interest in it everywhere. You know, and as you were saying, you just need to. We need this more than a lot of other things, and it just needs to happen. Yeah,
I think it'll be very beneficial. Honestly, not just for athletics. I see for every sport. You know, athletic movement skills for kids now. You know, for sprinters, for every GA. The running mechanics. You know, basically doing bleed tests for fitness. Then you look at the whole sports science element of it now. You know, where you'd be very foolish just to think you're going to perform at the highest level without going down the road of trying to analyze and work at and improving different aspects of your
makeup. Your functional movement is essential, and
correct.
If it's not in a good place from a young age, then you know you're going to get very hard down the line to reach your potential. And
correct.
I see it as a teacher even in primary school. I see kids from a young age, and you know, you're doing a simple PE lesson. But even I'd be looking at children, I'd be looking how they'd run, their form, little things like that. And it's at that age you have to get them. You know, that's where you get the simple exercise, and that's where you get the body moving and functioning properly.
And there, as you know, nowadays there's so many other distractions. It's different times, and I suppose there's an awful lot of running and racing to all different types of sports with kids. I know all about it myself, but I suppose this COVID-19 has sort of put us back to normality in a way, you know.
Yep, hold up and reflect. That's great, John. Yeah, great. Now, tell me about young John Fitzpatrick growing up, your sporting life, and people in influence.
Well, look, I suppose obviously my brother Enda was somebody I looked up to. I wouldn't like to say it to him. I know, but he knows.
It's not the first time you admit that now, is it?
No, it's hard saying it. I know it's not. No, honestly, he was. You know, he travelled the world. I would watch him run. You know, at Grand Prix. You know, on television, on ITV, and you'd see him running with like the likes of Seb Coe and Steve Ovett, and he was actually a rabbit at a lot of those races. So he'd be pacing the races as well as an 18-year-old, you know, or 19-year-old. He was, you know, it was just, you know, from my perspective, you know, I think he was influencing me without knowing it. Like I was looking up to him and seeing what he was doing, and you know, so when he came back home, you know, he was in UCD obviously in college, but he came back home, you know, it was like he's home, you know. It was a big ordeal, and then you know, he'd be going off for runs, and he'd be thinking, and some of the lads in Drumlish say, "Oh, I think your brother ran by our house," and you know, he was down Drumlish and he ran back, and you know, people be talking, you know. So obviously, as a young lad, you admired, you know, and he definitely influenced, and he helped. So as an athlete in my younger years, you know, he helped, you know, me develop my development, and I suppose he introduced me to some very good coaches, particularly in the throwing events. Dan Kennedy was one in particular. Never forget the man. He was an Olympic throwing coach, and little details. Geez, he made such a difference, and in shot put and discus coaching, like, and so Enda knew a lot of different guys, and he was, I suppose, Enda's not. So he's well known, you know, in the athletic circles, and he's been helping lots of different athletes over the last number of years, particularly in DCU, as you know, Sean. And then I suppose lots of like Fionnuala Britton and others, you know, just he's been heavily involved in the coaching aspect of athletes over the last number of years. So I suppose he was very influential. And of course, then my dad, as I mentioned earlier, and then obviously my sister Sinead, believe it or not, Sinead was Sinead's 7 or 8 years older than me. She was a national high jumper. So I was always challenging myself to try and beat her as a young lad. And she was only 5'4", but was jumping 5'7" or 5'8". She was basically a gymnastics sort of. She was doing somersaults and all sorts of stuff, out the back, and I was going, wow. But yes, that's what she would have influenced me, obviously, in the high jump as well. And then then I looked at the GA circles. I suppose the likes of Desi Barry. I remember going to county finals and seeing Desi Barry. He was unbelievable. He was dynamite.
Your father would bring you to the county finals, would he?
He would bring me to the county finals, yeah. I'd be there. I'd be actually there supporting Kilo as well in the 3 in a row. Because at that time, my sister Yvonne Bennett was obviously dating with Damien, and Damien was a serious footballer. I remember watching Damien. He used to bring me out to the Kilo training sessions. I'd be running around while the senior lads were out there training back in Cullifad. Back in the day. So I could have easily been a Kilo footballer. I know, but
careful now, careful.
There's a lot of controversy. But so look at the loads of different people, I suppose, over the years were influencing me. But obviously my brother Enda, because just watching him on television and seeing where he was traveling and seeing his achievements, and running world cross country, as a young lad, coming 14th in the world, winning national championships, year on year.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, unreal.
To be looking at that, yeah, as a younger brother, to be looking at that, and
correct, yeah,
that's all you want to aspire to.
Yeah, it was amazing times. Now, obviously, I went out and I tried to run with him, but couldn't get near him. But and he wouldn't be long letting you know either.
Is he really obviously in that game you have to have serious mental strength, mental endurance. Even when you were out running with him, and can you remember from those experiences, was he very driven? Was he?
Yeah. So he Sean, he was running maybe 75, 80 miles a week as maybe a 18-year-old, and then
serious.
Yeah, and to be honest, that's the sort of standard these lads these athletes are. I suppose I do have this analogy of like a bike. You can be a mountain bike, which was like me, or you can be a racer like him, where he was basically trimmed down, carrying little or no weight, maybe 11 stone, and him 6'3".
He's unbelievable mileage.
He was a serious coach. He got serious coaching. He had Father Brendan Dooley, a coach in Dublin, and I suppose he was getting lots of good advice. He got lots of scholarship offers to the States. He decided to stay in Ireland, in UCD, and I suppose he look at it as he knew what he was at. He was basically he had serious talent as well. I think one of my mates mentioned to me, as a young lad, he said, "Your brother was ridiculous as a talent." But probably as he got a bit older, I think he got a few injuries, got a few hiccups, and probably didn't achieve the standards he would have liked to have. And I suppose these things can happen, particularly if you're not being looked after right from a coaching perspective, and then things can go wrong. And I suppose, I'm always advising, young footballers or young sports people just to be careful, don't overdo it, manage your body if you can, and sometimes you need to hold these young people back in case they go too hard, too young,
Yeah.
So, but
And different times kind of have different approaches as well.
correct.
Nowadays you might have a better chance of being, looked after, whereas, awareness it's ever changing. And people are becoming smarter in their training and
correct
in their approaches. Whereas back then it would have been. It's like saying back to if you decide to take a rest, you could say, what are you resting for? You'd be grand. This sort of an attitude,
Yes. Yeah, I know. I think back in the football days, the older lads would be telling you, sure, nobody had any hamstrings back.
Yeah, we played without cruciates, We'll try to do that.
Yeah.
And I was on the bog today myself, actually. And I was recalling back last week when I rang you first, and you were telling me that that's where you were first spotted in action, John, was it? Is that where the talent was exposed on the bog?
On the bog, yeah, it's mad. We were putting up turf, I think Enda come home for the weekend, and I suppose I would have been maybe 12, 13-year-olds. And I think basically we were having a time out, taking a break from putting up the turf, and Enda was challenging me to jump over a few bog holes, hoping that I mightn't make it. But actually it was pretty successful, and I was clearing them easily. And then we had a few triple jumps trying to work out what distance I was covering. He was like going, geez, that's 12 meters or whatever it was. And I was like going, yeah, I'll get 13 the next time, you know.
Pushing.
But to be honest, he was probably walking away and he was going, actually, that would have got you a second or third in whatever competition. And I was like, all right, okay. But there were great times. I suppose that kicked it off. And then I suppose Dad then handed me a shot put at home, didn't have a clue what it was about, showed me the basic skills as a 12-year-old. And then I suppose I was probably very determined. You know, probably, for one thing, the lads have said to me, when I go at something, I'm 100% focused on doing whatever I can to make it a success out of it. So I think for a few weeks solid, I was throwing the shot put day after day, trying to compete, trying to throw it further. And then I basically qualified for the community games, and then I won my first sort of All Ireland in the shot put in community games at the national finals under 14. That was probably the very first sort of sign that I had, you know, decent enough athletic ability. Probably from athletics perspective, the running, that picture that's up there is actually very funny. You'll see that's David Hanafy behind me there.
I recognised David when I seen it first. And is that Ian Brown in the front row beside you?
Ian Brown is right, yes. Ian, never David, Owen Brown is on the red hair on the back of the right. You had I can't think of the boy's name now. You had McCormick on the left hand side from Keena, and you had another guy from Keena. It was Adrian from Keena's. I can't think of his name on top of my head. And Brooklyn names.
That's okay.
Kenny, Adrian Kenny, beside David there. So that was our local under 11 or 12 athletic team, and we won actually.
Was each of that team in a different event, John? Were they, or were you a collective? Or?
No, we were actually a cross country team. Those 6 guys, we were together. So David and Ian were always up front. They were like greyhounds in the cross country. They were gone. But actually, that team, we won a Connacht title. Again, we won first that day in the Connacht. That was down in Boyle, and I think we came 4th or 5th in the All Ireland with the same team. So there was some great memories, great young lads there, but and great friendships as well, you know.
Yeah, of course, it was great memories. I could just see here that David is rocking the yellow Mikasa gloves, the classic GA gloves.
Yes, he might have borrowed them off Colin.
Yeah, look, it has some memory, but sure, look at it, and you're talking about your focus and your you know, your enthusiasm for what you're doing. I'm sure it shows in all you've achieved, you know, because you don't get to that level of success without being like that.
Yeah. I think to be honest, you have to be driven. I think I've been always driven, no matter what sport I go at. I suppose there was a period there, even when I was playing GA, Sean, where I know I wasn't in great condition, as in physically, as in hadn't done enough training. I never really felt like I was giving myself a good enough chance, you know. These are some of the days back with Fodderman and Gales, and wasn't happy because I knew I wasn't putting in the efforts I needed to put in, and it wasn't because I didn't want to. It was probably because I had other things on that were priority.
Was this your underage sort of career? Yeah.
No, this is probably even as I got a bit older. But I do look at sort of the times. I always was committed, and when I went at something, I always, you know, gave it everything I could. I suppose this is a basketball team.
I want to ask you this in a minute, because it's a sport I played very little of, but it's a sport I would have loved to have pursued. You know, just to experience it and just to learn from it. You know, and I actually recently went back trying to play a bit. There's a group of guys in town here who meet up and play, and I just thoroughly enjoyed it. But did you enjoy your basketball?
To be honest, really good times as well. Like I look back at some of the guys you talk about, like Niall Sheridan. Niall was a serious basketballer. Lads might
Really?
know that, but he was a really good basketballer. Yeah, I remember he had some great pair of hands, as you know, at the GA.
Oh
But
God, yeah.
you know, it was the same at basketball. He was a great centre. To get the ball, it was a nightmare. You know, and then obviously you know about Trevor Smullen. Sure,
Yeah,
Trevor was
super talented.
national standard. Trevor
Yeah.
was unreal. So, but this was a great time as well, where so never really played basketball until I went to St. Mel's College. I suppose Pádraig McQueenie there taught us, gave us some advice and helped us, coach us along the way. And then obviously Mick Murphy with Torpedoes. Mick was unbelievable too. You know, helped shape us and give us the basic skill sets, and so then places and movements and all that crack. And then
there's a lot of service given, hasn't he?
really unbelievable. Mick has been unbelievable here at Longford basketball. It's crazy. I think he almost lived in the Mall for 30 odd years or more, you know.
Yeah. Oh, it's some dedication.
Yeah, they were great times.
Yeah. And like you were obviously very sporty in Mel's. How was that experience? How was that? How did you juggle everything? Because Mel's, as we both know, not so much, I don't know so much nowadays, but back then would have been like very much football, would have been the number one, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would have been.
Because in my time it was. I can only imagine what it was like.
No, it was. Oh, no, it was everything. To be honest, I think I suppose before I went to St. Mel's, I suppose that summer leaving national school, I was selected after sort of a number of blitzes and the sort of national blitzes to play at the All Ireland semi final in Croke Park, which was an unbelievable experience. I played at half time, you know. I actually played for Meath against Donegal, but yeah, so I suppose my parents were there. It was such a buzz to be playing in front of whatever 70 or 80,000 people. And then I suppose I entered St. Mel's College with probably loads of people were already probably talking about I was a decent enough footballer. I played midfield, and I suppose after trials in first year, I think there's an under 14 team, and I was voted as captain of the team in first year. Came up against very good guys, and we won a number of titles that first year in that first year team. I think we won all games we were involved in, believe it or not, in first year. It was a great first year team. I suppose because I was actually born in October, end of October, I was actually underage for the same team in second year.
Okay.
But I suppose it clashed with my athletics because I suppose I just won an All Ireland in the shot put in athletics, and I'd realised that I had probably a great opportunity maybe to represent Ireland abroad, and I suppose so I sort of looked at it and I thought, well, to do myself justice, I'd like to give athletics a chance for a year to see how I got on, and I suppose it was difficult because I suppose in there in St. Mel's at the time, I know the principal was, and a lot of obviously a lot of the teachers were GAA fanatics, and so to tell them that I wanted to focus on a different sport for a year, so it didn't go down too well.
I know. Yeah.
It was tricky enough. I think I was probably felt a bit uncomfortable about it all, but I suppose I continued the athletic route then for the next 12 months, and then to be honest, I won a few more titles and then internationals, and then I suppose that's where my athletic career sort of took off. And I suppose I look back at the GAA scene, I suppose that was probably my last time to play a GAA until I started playing senior football with Waterman and Gaels.
Yeah, it was a very brave decision, John. Like, because you know when you talk, like when you make a decision like that, and Mel's football was so dominant, you know, there can be a bit of shade put on you because of that decision, which you know it shouldn't be the case. But, you know, everyone should be kind of. But again, it's a different time. You know, it was a different time. Yeah. And like nowadays, I'm sure, you know, people are given more freedom to take different ventures and experiment a bit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think basically, you know, St. Mel's College, it's an unbelievable college, and it's you know, it's a GAA college at the start, and plus there were great athletes too. So there's a multitude of great basketballers. It's an all-round college, with loads of good athletes and sports people. So I suppose just at that time for me, it was a tricky enough decision, and I suppose it was risky. But I got to travel and compete for Ireland. There was a captain there, actually, one of the pictures there of the Irish under-17 team that travelled at Colwyn Bay. And
that's back this picture here, yeah.
Yeah, that was me there on the left of Hines in the middle there. My big ear sticking out, but they're a bit bigger without the dreadlocks. I know, won't even go there. But no, they were great. But so yeah, no, I suppose. Look, I travelled for probably 2 or 3 years, different international events and winning different competitions. So I suppose, it was a risk worth taking, and I enjoyed my athletic piece. And so when I went to college, then I found there was a ramp up in training. I suppose, as you know, when you go to college, Sean, it's a different world. There's a bit more partying, a bit of a wild life for a little bit, but great times too. So my athletic sort of was parked a bit. And then, as you probably don't, maybe you do or you don't know, so I was living with David Hannafy at the time, sharing a flat with David and a few others. And obviously David was playing with the Gaels, and I think he'd been called up to the county senior team, and he was only 19. And I was a year younger than David, and then I suppose David was asking, would you be interested to come back, play a bit of football? And I was like, oh yeah, probably wouldn't mind. And then I suppose I was encouraged to come out to Bushy Park to meet up with Jimmy Hannafy, and Jimmy was kicking the ball in, and myself and David were competing for it, and I suppose we were hustling a bit. He was probably taking it a bit easier on me, knowing that I hadn't been involved for a few years. And then I think within 2 or 3 weeks, I was playing midfield for Fatherman and Gaels.
And this is 19 years of age? 18?
19 years of age,
19 years of age.
Yeah. So,
and then you became part of a team that is very iconic, because I know from growing up myself, this was a team that was, and squad, I was very conscious of saying just team, because squad, that was admired so much, but also surrounded by teams that wanted to take them down. But what I'm trying to say is, it's just a very, very iconic team. Like everyone was looking up to you. You were so successful. You were laying down the marker, and you were great for Longford football.
Yeah, look, to be honest, I was blessed to be able to join up with an unbelievable group, a squad of players. Like, to be honest, it was nearly taken for granted. When I look back, there was such a great bunch of players and characters. I suppose men, there was youth, there was everything. I suppose I have fond memories, even in the early days. God rest him, Jimmy Tully. Jimmy Tully was sort of a little bit of an advisor early days for me. Obviously, after games, Jimmy gave me a lift or two back down to Drumlish to celebrate the odd game, head down to Gallagher's or wherever, or Riley's. But Jimmy was an unbelievable footballer. Really, loads of different guys like, James Breslin, Frank McNamee, Jerry Whelan. There was men there that were just, were able to keep everybody together. Were basically able to advise and help shape the next crew. And then the next crew was a bunch of guys like Colin Hannafy, that was captain of the county team for a few years as well. I suppose Colin obviously, was an unbelievable athlete as well. Just to make it clear, Colin came third as an under 11 or under 12 in the All Ireland cross country back in Drumlish. Like he was an all rounder as well. Colin and David, they were serious sports guys. But yeah, I was blessed to join a great bunch of guys, a squad of players, and even to have the likes of Podgy Davis, obviously, and the Bradys, and
you had so many personalities in the team, didn't you? You had so many, like,
it was great.
Yeah, you had. And I suppose when I was young, with my first cousins, Enda and Donald Ledwood, I would have been over there quite a bit, and they would have been, big rivals of yours there at times, and so that's where I got my inside look. As a young lad, I was kind of up close to these games, and I had an extra interest in it, because it was great times. Football was really the crowds at those games back then was just unbelievable.
Oh, there was an intensity. You knew what you were coming up against. I think everybody wanted to try and turn us over.
Yeah.
There was probably a little bit of cockiness at times because guys had been basically playing and winning for a number of years.
Winning breeds that,
and we relied on each other. We basically depended on each other. I suppose you had a great management team as well with Jimmy Hannafy. Like he just got
what was Jimmy like as a manager? What was he like as a player?
Jimmy took no prisoners. He told you the way he wanted you to play. I suppose he made it very clear to me in early days. Even when I first got back to playing a bit of football, I wanted to be I wanted to show my talents. I wanted to take the ball on, maybe solo twice or three times, and maybe look for a loopy pass over the top or something.
Yeah.
But that was a no-no. Jimmy was like, get the ball, look up, kick it straight in. You'll see podgy other guys in low and hard. Get into the guys in the forward line. The ball travels faster than the man, and that was the mindset. That was the philosophy. It was all about just working the ball quickly, and no fanciness until I got into the forward line, and then obviously the likes of Porrick and others were just unbelievable. They're really good.
Yeah.
But Jimmy, I suppose Jimmy was a teacher mindset. Basically, we were his pupils. We did what Jimmy said, and we obeyed him. And he let you play your game too. We had great crack, but you just felt like he knew how to get the best out of you.
Yeah.
Was a bit like an Alex Ferguson. He knew how to. He knew which guy to push harder and which guy to take it easier on.
Yeah. But another man who was ahead of his time, I'm sure.
He was really good, and I suppose even the likes of Pat Corrigan and Pat was great crack. He was there. He kept the tension lower. If we were playing poorly, he kept the vibe positive. And then you had Thomas Gill, obviously, who was a good fitness coach, plenty of good running. Thomas was, a great club man as well, helping to bring the best out of us as well, from an athletic perspective.
All these fellas play such a key role in the club, don't they? And part of a setup, everyone brings something different.
Yeah, they all did, and they gelled together as well, really well. And I suppose there was such a great squad of players. Like if 4 or 5 lads were underperforming, 4 or 5 other lads would come slot straight in.
Yeah. Not many teams had that at that time.
No, to be honest, there probably was a panel of 30 lads that could have probably played with any other club.
What were the training sessions like, John? There must have been.
They were intense. To be honest, I remember. I think there was 12 of that first team were on the county panel back in 98 or 99. And I remember myself and Martin Malady we were on the edges or the fringes of the county panel. And so when it came to training, if the county guys were gone off, we were basically pushing each other to the last. But I always remember we used to have those mile runs there at the end. And I'd be neck and neck, and I'd be pushing Martin, and he'd be pushing me, and we all were pushing each other, So at training games, if one lad got hurt or was injured, the next guy was walking in, and there was no qualms about it, It was nobody felt sorry for you walking away with a sore finger or a sore thumb I suppose, to be honest, Jimmy's mindset was, we have to be winners, and don't let take in for granted, and everybody is out to get you, and to be honest, even the referees at times, if they're all trying to beat you, but we were focused, and there were unbelievable times,
Yeah, you're extremely successful, and I suppose Jimmy's attitude, it breathed onto the team, and I suppose without that edge and without lads pushing each other, that's what adds to the success too, especially in those key moments you said there where there's a lot missing. We all had those training sessions where, you're down numbers and you can either go through the motions or you can, it's like anything, any drill you go to do. You get out of what you put into it.
Exactly, yeah. And I think success breeds success. At that time, a lot of young lads were interested in, there was loads of good guys out there. And even, you point out Donny McLaughlin there was an unreal talent. Donny would have been, inter-county footballer year on year. But Paul Donny had an issue there for a few years with an illness that basically probably held him back a bit. But like when he was held back, others stepped in, and then Donny came back again, strong as ever. So just there was a great camaraderie and a great bunch of guys, and strong mindset, winning mindset, mentality.
Yeah, I can sense it off you. I can sense what you're saying.
Yeah.
Very good, John. And I suppose I want to ask you, because of your diverse background in sport, when you were in the thick of it with the Gaels and you were playing it, how important was football to you?
To be honest, football was everything when we were playing back in those days. So as when there was a great bunch of people there, even that picture there was after winning the Division 1 out in Drumard. Like the smiles, the crack, the fun and games, but then that winning mindset, the fun was there, but then the next session was intense, back into it, guys. And I suppose we just breeded. We just were football after football. That was it. It was just talked about. I suppose myself and David, because we were in college up in Dublin, we headed back to Dublin on a Sunday night. I suppose we got away from probably the chit chat of what was going on, probably back at home.
That was important.
Yeah, we were able to free the mind in it. But when we got back at the weekends, then it was straight back into it. So football at those times was just everything to us and to me. I suppose great friendships. Like I look at the likes of James Bresson there, he's still a mate of mine. Basically bringing me to games. I had no car, no vehicle to get to games, or no transportation. So without James bringing me there and back, having a few pints on the way home, and enjoying the moment. They were good old days. They were great days.
And I suppose did you was it something you thought about? God, am I going to be in this for the long haul, or?
Yeah, I suppose at that time, I suppose I look back at my dad. Dad was always, Dad always liked, to instill the importance of education. Yeah. And I suppose I was studying as an engineer up in DIT in Kevin Street, and I suppose with long hours and working hard at it, I suppose I wanted to make sure that I got a good honours degree and basically was able to look to the next level and hopefully get myself set up on some sort of job. So while sport is really important, and it was really important to me back then, education probably was number one, particularly in my parents' mindset. So at that time, probably I was in second or third year in college. I think probably, to be honest, there was a lot going on too, like as we were traveling and playing lots of games. I suppose that time I think I was in on the county panel as well, playing under 21 for Longford, and then it was brought into the senior panel that year as well. Played with
that's what eased you into the senior panel, was it? Yeah.
That was what interested me exactly. Yeah. So I suppose I got a call from Michael McCormack at the time, asking me would I get involved. I suppose he did watch me playing, with the Fatherman and Gales team, and then I think I'd only played a few games, and I think Podgy had mentioned to me that they're already considering bringing in to the panel in the midfield area. So I was like, okay, but I said, like, geez, probably I felt a bit like I was out of my territory a little bit, even just getting back into the club scene, let alone get into inter-county scene, but a different level altogether. But I sort of was called in, and then I suppose bit by bit I sort of got more familiar and understood the pace was different and try to bring myself to the next level. But it was Michael McCormack travelled down to the National League down in Tipperary, and we were playing down there. Came on as a sub, and then I think as Westmead we played, and then maybe in Clare. but I suppose just to find when I got back on a Sunday, it was then back to college, early start, plenty of hours. I think I had 40-hour week, plenty of work, and it was in Kevin Street, so it was like a small enough class. Everybody knew everybody, so if you weren't there, it was noticed. So so there was no missing. And so look at.
I had to prioritize, I suppose.
It was prioritized.
Yeah.
Education was a priority for me, and then trying to get back after games. It was important that I was sort of fresh in the mind as well. And obviously, there was then midweek going back down to play and train in Longford. It took a little bit out of you to get back up then that night. We jumped all onto a minibus. I never forget it. The outside Virgin Media store there and along the Liffey, jumping in together with a small minibus and then getting down. But again, unbelievable times, great times having the crack on the way down. And on the way back.
Something you were going to get it difficult to stick at. Yeah,
I suppose. Yeah, I just found probably it was hard to commit yourself to everything. Given it from my own perspective, I probably struggled with maybe a bit of time management and prioritizing what's important to you at that time when you're a student. You're trying to. My education was always instilling it as being number one, and then sport came number two. So, but I suppose I think I enjoyed playing inter-county football. I suppose I started in a job with Vodafone in Leopardstown. I decided I was sick of renting up in Dublin, so I actually jumped straight in and bought a house in Dublin. Mortgaged myself up to the hills, and then basically had to try and pay it off as a 22-year-older. So I was working all around the clock, then try and do whatever I had to do to establish myself up there in Dublin. And but great times. And I basically probably took a little bit of a break from GA then around 2002 to probably 2004, maybe for two and a half years. I sort of took a bit of time out, concentrated on what was a priority and work and that, and then I suppose I came back down to the Gaels around 2004 and started training again like a mad yoke. Was determined to get back in and try and hopefully win another championship with the Gaels in 2004, 2005. But we came close, but we didn't manage to do it.
Yeah, very lucky.
We were close, but we didn't get there.
Yeah, it was a great final now with Dramar that time, but
yes,
very lucky.
Yeah, I think Dramar were just a bit cuter and a bit sharper on the day, particularly in the second half. They done very well.
Yeah, when it comes to the four. Yeah, so then moving on, John, and life after football, and I suppose you pursued your athletics, and I suppose your football's over now, so you're probably starting to do some personal training, some running.
Yeah. So Sean, I think probably about 6 years ago, I started getting back into doing a bit of running. I think everybody was getting sort of, there's a big craze in trying to run a marathon or a half marathon or trying to run as fast as 10K as you can run. And so I was only sort of tipping along, just trying to keep my mind together. I sort of built a new business, or set me new business up, and I was basically providing services back into companies up in Dublin. But I think from the mindfulness perspective, needs to get out and do something to free the mind. And athletics was the easiest thing to put on a pair of runners, no matter where you were in the country. Yeah. You could do a few laps. Now in that picture there, I don't look like I've done a few laps. I look like I've eaten a few burgers, but I won't even go there. But I suppose I went at athletics then for 2 years solid. I was running nearly every day, and I think I was down to 13 stone or 12 and a half stone. I was running sub 17 minutes for 5Ks. I was I think I ran 35 minutes for a 10K. I'd never ran 10K before, so I was running pretty well. And but obviously not in the elite category. But for me, it was good. It was great to be competitive. And
good is an understatement. 35, actually trying to get over that.
I suppose you felt like, I remember going up to Dublin and doing that Jingle Bells 5K, and like, I suppose there's such a buzz. Like, there was like probably 1,000 athletes, and it's in Stevens' Day, and and it was before. It was 2 weeks before. I'm thinking of the Shane Brennan run, but it was like 2 weeks before Christmas. Everybody out, and probably I came maybe 50th, but I ran 17:02 or something like that. But there's loads of good guys to run along with, and they're all with you. They're all running together.
Yeah.
But I suppose I was improving, and I had a sort of, obviously Enda was giving me a bit of advice. I had a few coaching plans, and I was doing interval sessions and tempo runs, and I was trying to shape the bicycle from being a mountain bike back down to being a racer. But I hadn't got the carbon fiber wheels I needed. But no, to cut their chase, I was trying to track heart rate, looking at lactic threshold tests, and I was sort of really interested in the athletic performance piece, listening to the brother Enda, obviously, and then so I got tested for lactic threshold testing. So I knew what zones to run in to try and improve your athletic performance. And so had a heart rate monitor watch on, and I suppose I had a bit of a scare. Had a watch on me for maybe 2 years, was tracking my heart rate, and one Saturday morning I went for a run at the usual 16-kilometer run, and within that 16K there was 2 20-minute tempo runs with a 3-minute break, and I was tracking my heart at whatever it was, 161 beats per minute or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I just felt on the second run, just it was going really well, and then all of a sudden I felt like, I suppose, like a flutter. I felt like I just sort of opened the oven door, looked into the oven to see what was on, and was like going, whoa. So I'll never forget it. I was actually running through Newtown Forbes by the castle, the entrance to the main castle on Main Street in Newtown, and then just looked at me watch, and I was reading 220 beats per minute. I was like, going, oh, that's not right. So I just said, I better stop. So I slowed down, and I could feel, obviously, my heart was racing a bit.
Yeah.
So I decided I'd walk for 100 yards, and then it came back down after a few minutes, and then I just jogged home. Didn't think too much of it. Thought, maybe it was me watch.
Yeah.
Then I suppose the following week, and I was training every day. It hadn't popped up showing ever any signs of this before. The following week, I actually done a similar tempo run. I had 2 or 3 loops I used to do. Well, this time it was through Longford town. It was in the middle of the night. Well, midnight, but it was probably 10 o'clock at night, 9 or 10 o'clock. It was in the dark, and I was coming up the bypass, and I was running well. It was my first 20-minute run, and geez, I felt the same sort of hot flush, bit of a flutter, felt the warm sensation. I was in the dark, so I had to turn on the light on my watch, and sure enough, my heart rate had jumped from 160 to 220. So I was going, oh crap, excuse the language, something's gone wrong. Something's not right. Obviously, I've got something wrong. So then I knew there was something wrong. So I jogged home and said to myself, I'll just send. I was, as you know, I'm into technology, and downloaded all the information from my watch onto the laptop, started analysing it, sent snapshots then up to my brother Enda up in DCU, and I said, what do you think? And he just said, stop running, was his text message, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. So I got a call the following day. Lucky enough, Dr. Niall Moyna basically had a quick look and just said, would you be interested to come up to Dublin to DCU? We could slot you in here, put you up on a stress test, and we'll run you for a few minutes. So went up, very, very fortunate to get in and to be examined. To go to the chase, showed no signs of any issues at all. But Niall advised that I'd go to a cardiologist, even though Niall is a cardiologist, he'd rather go to an independent cardiologist to get a second opinion. So I decided to go to another cardiologist, booked an appointment. They looked at me and they weren't overly concerned, but they said, we'll stick a Holter monitor on you for 24 hours. They done scans and to cut to the chase, dropped off the Holter monitor. The following day, I got a call within 3-4 hours telling me, could I come in to meet them? And to be honest, I was like, okay. So I was told that that I had an issue, that I was getting small ventricular tachycardia runs, VT runs, unknown to me, but they were the first sign of getting sort of a small little heart attack. So I was getting like beats, an 8 or 10 beat run of VT, and I didn't know what this meant. I was like going, well, can you just fix it and can I get back out, or what's the story? You know, I've been doing this, and they said, not that easy. We'd have to do a bit of investigation again. So to cut to the chase, I had to go and get an angiogram, check out the valves and the whole shebang. Not a nice experience, but you know, you're wide awake, but it had to be done, and I was prepared for whatever they were going to see. But thankfully, there was no serious damage. They could see nothing obvious, and then I was told, obviously, there's something wrong with your electrical cardiology piece. So they advised that I go and look at it, get an EP study done, which is like a study where they actually try and induce your heart to go out of sync, to basically let your heart go out of kilt, to sort of induce the condition that you're going through, the experience you're going through. So they actually, again, they put a wire or two into your heart, and then they throw a few pulses in to try and induce it. And unfortunately, they couldn't. Fortunately or unfortunately, they couldn't replicate the experience. So I was told, look, you're going to have to take it easy on the running. We're just going to have to wait and see. We're going to send you for a scan. So initially, the scan came back and they told me that I had a bit of scarring, but it wasn't severe. But it could have been the cause of what's happening. And to cut to the chase, Sean, I was advised, look, you've got 4 kids. Do you really want to be running like a mad joke every day? You know, maybe just do some light stuff. But at the moment, we'd advise you do nothing until we come to the bottom of what's wrong. Because if you were to get this incident again, you could be very unlucky.
Yeah.
So 3 years passed, 4 years passed, Sean. And to be honest, only last year I was told that, you know, actually, it doesn't look like it's serious, really serious. They implanted a loop recorder basically to see what was happening. It's hooked up to your phone. It's a bit like Big Brother, but it provides information back up to them to review your heart rate, to make sure it's not, you know, going out of sync. And they were satisfied that, you know, they had identified the issue. So I'm waiting on more results, but I haven't gone crazy back running at all. I was told I could do some light running, but nothing serious.
Do you do that even?
I do a little bit of it. To be honest, I suppose there's a bit of a anxiety sometimes when you're thinking about when your heart starts racing a bit and you're running. And to be honest, everybody has racing hearts at different times. It's normal. It's normal. You know, obviously stress and other things bring on racing heart and mindsets and that. But I suppose you can be very unlucky. And I think I was one of the lucky ones, you know. I stopped when I was supposed to stop. I went and got a bit of advice. I was lucky they identified the issue, and thankfully I'm still here. And hopefully, God willing, I'll be back doing a bit more running in the next number of months. I'm waiting on a scan result just before this COVID-19 kicked in. So I'm waiting now. I don't know what the situation is. We have to sit tight and wait and see where we're at. But at the end of the day, it's not the be all and end all. I suppose I've 4 kids and they're a priority, and I look at coaching now. So I started doing a lot of coaching now in athletics and in soccer and other sports. I suppose I've got involved in the soccer club as well. I'm a PDP 3 youth coach for FAI. So I've educated myself in that. And athletics, I'm a level 2 coach in Athletics Ireland for the jumps, and I'm looking at doing the throws as well. And then I suppose, obviously GA, I'm in the slashers parish. So I think my young lads, the 4 young lads are basically being introduced into GA, you know, with the slashers football team. So I'm getting slightly involved with the guys in there as well, trying to balance the whole thing.
So I can edit that out at the end, John.
It mightn't go down too well, but I suppose they're in the slashers parish and they're going to Melview School. But I think, as I said to the Gaels lads, it all depends on what the money's like, you know. I think Kilo might be offering more money. I know, I'm joking.
I just want to go back, John, to that when you were. How did you deal with those 3 or 4 years then? You know, being so active to having to.
To be honest, it was really difficult. Really difficult. I suppose, Sean, I have a business, my own business, and I work into the mobile operators and so we're a consultancy company, an engineering and consultancy company. And I suppose for for a number of months, the initial months, to be honest, it was stressful. It was playing on your mind. You weren't sure what was going to happen. Were you going to be around in a few days' time? I suppose you were basically trying to take things easier. But then I suppose the job that I was in, you know, I was the one that was running the whole thing, and so it was important that I was heavily involved. So I had a few good helpers, obviously, of some colleagues that work with me, that helped take on a bit more of the burden. And I suppose I have some good local subcontractors that basically were really helpful too, and took on a bit more of the workload. So yeah, we just sort of tried to balance the thing for a while. From a mindset perspective, yeah, really tough. I suppose it's like, I suppose you look at any athlete out there now, or any footballer, and just tell them they're playing maybe county scene, and they're following, they're told you're not going to play again, or you're not allowed to play until we know where you're at. So I suppose I just wanted to get answers. I wanted to know what was wrong, when can it be fixed, how can they fix it, do I have to go abroad, you know, where can I get this sorted? And I suppose you sort of build up your knowledge then of what's actually happening. And then I suppose sometimes you don't even get those answers. I know a colleague of mine who basically has never got the answers. He had a stroke, and he's been very lucky too. But sometimes you're not sure what's coming at you.
No.
But you sort of deal with it. And to be honest, with having 3 great young kids, and so as a wife, it's been very, very helpful, and you know, basically, you know, protective and looking after me too. You know, sometimes I don't really look after myself at times. I suppose it's giving some guidance and some advice. You know, I think it was I'm the sort of guy that will do anything to help. I think one doctor said to me, because he knew I was running and racing, still trying to do everything, said, look, it's important that you consider yourself at some of these times and just look after yourself. And so I suppose you know, I've tried to cut back, be more sort of focused on what's important. And I suppose the mind thing, going and sort of getting involved with the athletic club and with the soccer club, and sort of involved with more coaching aspects, you know, that's been really important to me, you know.
It's kept you going.
It's kept me going, yeah. And I know, like, look, there's loads of little things going on, little issues that happen, you know, with you know, injuries and that. So the heart, it's a muscle, but it's a very important muscle, and you know, everybody can get scars like any muscle. If your calf, you could tear your calf slightly, but you just have to be more careful with this muscle. And so I've had to just cut back, and the way I see it is, it'll be fine again. I'll be back doing a little bit of running hopefully in the next few years. Probably not crazy running like I was doing, but enough to keep my mind at ease. And I suppose it does take time to adapt, and I've adapted now, and I feel, you know, happy. There's no problem. You know, that's just the way it is.
Yeah, because it's, you know, it's very, especially, you know, the background you came up into, especially the athletics and with the GA, when you stop your main sport, you know, and you're kind of left to your own devices, and you see a lot of people around, we can go very extreme into another sport, like for example running. There's a lot of runners around now, they're everywhere, and sometimes it can be extreme. Do you think that maybe it just comes to a certain stage that, unless obviously I'm not saying that people shouldn't compete and try to break times and test themselves, that's grand, but do you think it comes to a certain point in life that maybe running at a comfortable pace that's not overly stressing the body and having a good diet is the right approach?
So yeah, 100%. I think, you know, I see lots of guys out there running, and you know, it's very obvious they haven't really got the athletic, you know, sort of structures. You know, they look like, you know, maybe even the foot placement, and they don't look athletic, you know, but they want to lose weight or look after the mind or do the right thing. But I suppose from my bit of advice, Sean, would be, you know, invest in a heart rate monitor, you know, or a watch with a heart rate monitoring function. I suppose it's important to be active, no matter where you are. It's, you know, it's good for you. You know, a healthy mind is a healthy body, and vice versa. And then, you know, I suppose a heart rate monitor, in my opinion, is like would you drive a car without the dashboard operating? Because you can't see, is your rev counter, are you in first gear, but your revs are up at 5,000 revs per minute, or are you in sixth gear and you're dropping down? So, having a heart rate monitor tracking your heart, it just basically gives you a peace of mind that you're in a comfort zone. And I suppose for anybody running, I suppose, Sean, when you're in this elite sort of phase, or even at one point in time, I'm not elite, obviously. I wasn't elite when I was doing this. But after, from running for maybe a kilometer, I could tell whether I was in good condition or not by looking at my heart rate. And I'm talking about being 3 or 4 beats above a certain level where I would have been 2 or 3 days previous.
Yeah.
And I give you one little incident as well. And this maybe about a year or 2 before, I went for a run. I was running from my home back into Longford, and I noticed my heart rate just went up a bit high early on, like it was about 175, but I was only jogging, and I was like going, this should normally be around 130. Why am I up at 175?
Yeah.
And I continued on for another kilometer, and I just hadn't come back down. I was going, something's not right. So I decided I'd go home. I just jogged home. And the following day, I was in bed with flu. And I had flu for about 3 days. And to be honest, the heart can tell you what's happening.
That was a sign.
It's a sign. And it was telling me, I'm fighting something here. Don't be putting me under pressure. Yeah. Please take it easy. And obviously, I was smart enough to turn around and said, you know what, I'm going to jog back home. And I didn't feel sick at the time, but the following 24 hours, I was in bed and I was flu. I had flu, running nose, headache, and it was down to basically a flu. But so my advice to anybody out there running is obviously get a good pair of runners. That's one very, very important thing, obviously, really good pair of runners.
Change them every 6 months.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, if you can afford them, or basically, just make sure you've got good feet, good footwear wear, and then a heart rate monitor, and then go and enjoy it. And I suppose, look, it depends on where you're at. It's always nice to have targets and goals, and you want to improve to a certain level, but at the same time, you have to look after yourself.
Yeah, don't abuse the body.
Don't abuse the body.
Yeah. John, thanks very much. Thanks for sharing that. That's it's such an important message, and
no problem at all.
No, thank you.
I think I look at the likes of Conor Keneally there and others there that just passed away recently, and just it's important we spread this message out. That that the heart, it has to be managed, and we're very lucky. If something's wrong with a heart rate monitor, you can track it, and you can try and keep an eye on it and look after yourself. You have a better chance. Exactly.
Yeah. Thanks, John. Thank you. John, what do you consider your greatest sporting achievement today, or what do you cherish?
To be honest, there's no real one. I think, to be honest, I don't really have one. I have 2 or 3. I suppose, obviously, winning 2 national community games and 4th place when I was out of my age category, that was a really good achievement. But obviously, then winning my first championship at Father Gaels, having not played football for 5 or 6 years, was an unreal achievement as well. With a great group of guys, and then obviously probably captaining that Irish team as well, over in Colwyn Bay, and then jumping 2 meters in the high jump. That's probably another highlight of my career. So that's probably it.
In relation to yourself, it's an unfair question, I suppose. trying to narrow all that down. It's great. It's great to have so much time to reflect back on.
Yeah.
I threw this up. Do you know why?
Would it be he's got a pineapple on his head?
It's funny because I had a similar experience to this in college, and just to make the long story short, I was in college. I lost a bet. I lost a game of Pro Evolution Soccer on the PlayStation.
Right.
As a result, I had to go down to Parnell Street into an African barber shop, and I got cornrows.
Yes.
I went home that evening to play a challenge game with Kilo. And my father had just drove into the grounds. He rolled down the window and he let me know what he thought of it.
Yeah.
He rolled back up the window and he drove home.
Yeah.
That was later on now when I did that.
Right.
I suppose I want to know, how did that come about and how was it?
Oh, Jeannie Mac. So what happened here was, obviously you're in college.
Yep.
I let the hair grow. I suppose I had woolly looking hair. I decided, I think it was over the Christmas, I was going to cut me hair. It was all going to go off. And then I suppose somebody dared me to put on, basically to go get dreadlocks. And I said, and to be honest, there was at the time there was two guys that I actually, there was a fella called, was it Jason Lee? He played with Nottingham Forest.
Okay.
He had dreadlocks, and there was lads in my college were like going, dare you. And then another guy, obviously, I used to listen to Rage Against the Machine, and
Killing in
the
the
lead
name
singer
of
had dreadlocks. So I said, you know what? For the bit of crack, I'll do this. So I remember going to a barber's, and to get somebody to go and put dreadlocks into your hair, it's not straightforward. It was mad. But I think back on, what was I thinking?
your hair's
But
so
anyway,
to it. Well, mine certainly wasn't. No.
Yeah, I just was like, so I went into Peter Marks on Grafton Street like a lunatic, and I met some girl in there, and I said, "Do you know who keeps the dreadlocks?" So, and she goes, "I can do it." And I said, "Right." And she goes, "If you want, come back to my place tomorrow evening, and I'll sort them out for you." I said, "All right." So sure enough, headed back to her place the following day, and by the way, nothing happened. Just she was doing me a favor, so she basically put these dreadlocks in, and I paid her appropriately. Yeah, I remember I got back to the flat, and the lads were like, "Oh my god!" And then, to be honest, I think I got
Never
home.
mind the flat. What? When you went back to Drumlish?
I went back to my parents, and I think my mum. I used to go to mass with my parents on a Saturday night, and I was advised not to sit with them. So I had to sit down the back, out of the way, until and then obviously when I went down to Drumlish, the guys were like, "What's going on?" So the plan was to shave them off after 2 or 3 weeks, and then, to be honest, some people were saying, "I should leave them in," and then bit by bit, I was like, "You know what? Oh, I'll leave them in."
What year was that you got them?
Oh, Ginny, man, I think.
Was Jimmy over you?
Jimmy was over us, yeah.
And what did he make of him?
He never commented.
Was there a message in that?
No,
He must have liked it.
I don't know. I don't know whether he did now. I'd say from Jimmy's perspective, once it wasn't perfecting a performance.
Yeah, you could have been shaving off a bit earlier if you weren't performing.
If they were getting in my way, they were going to be taken off. So I'd say it was probably 99, around 99, I'd say. But anyway, I come here. It was a mad time.
Good on you, sure. Look at, why not?
Sure, why not? You're only young.
You did it, yeah. Nice little picture to have too. On the spot questions for you, John. Who is the most inspirational character in that Gaels dressing room?
Gee, that's a tricky one. I'd say, can I give you two names?
You can,
yeah. Frank McNamee and James Preston.
It's funny, I thought those two.
James Preston was a friend, was basically a colleague. He basically stood by you no matter what. He was a gentleman off the field, but on the field he was
the fellow you wanted on your side.
he wanted to win no matter what, and it was great to have him because you felt comfort with him around.
You probably felt safe too.
Safe too. He wasn't too bad with the fist, let's be honest.
Right.
And then obviously Frank Mack was solid, steady Eddie, the voice in the dressing room before the game. Very few words, but very clear and concise. And then, wasn't afraid. Very rarely did Frank get angry. But when he got angry, you knew something was going down.
Yeah, the ears perked up.
Correct. Yeah, you just felt like there was an edge but Frank it's such a great experience, very good communicator, and it was, he was a bit like the Roy Keane for say Alex Ferguson,
Yeah, very good. Thanks for your honesty, John.
Yeah.
And your last on the spot question: what advice would you give to young sports people?
I suppose first off, I suppose enjoy what you're doing. It's important to be enjoying whatever sport you're playing. I suppose it should be fun. And I'm talking about, kids. It's the whole philosophy for FAI, for athletics, for all sports and GA. It should be fun, but learn the fundamentals and get the right coach, or hopefully your coaches are teaching you the fundamental skills to help you develop. But it has to be fun at an early age, and if it's not fun, obviously you should try and make it fun, or coaches or parents to try and make it fun. I suppose I'm coaching 30 to 40 under 8s soccer in the man. And you have you're doing trying to direct them and keep it all fun and have them great crack. But at the same time, you're trying to shape them and give them some skills and drills to help develop them. So, but you might have one or two guys, you might have 10 of the 30 kids are listening.
If you're lucky.
Or lying on their back, looking up into the clouds and looking at stars, So, but they're having fun. That's the most important thing.
Love it, John. Yeah, perfect. Great answer. Thank you. That was great, John. You're an incredible person now, and thank you for sharing your story, and thank you for your contribution to everything you do to Longford Athletics, and for your contribution in the GA circles over the years as well. You added memories, even though you were a Gael over the road from us, but you're a sound man and much appreciated, and I really appreciate you joining me and sharing with me and being so open and honest. And I think your message is so important, and I hope it reaches. If it reaches some people, a few people, a lot of people, all the better.
You're more than welcome, Sean. I'm delighted to support this, and I wish you the best. It's a really good podcast. Fair play to you.
Thank you, John. Take care and stay safe, and hello to all the family.
You too. Stay safe, everybody. Take care, Sean.
Thanks.